Okay, so we have our cart reducer, we have our add to cart action, which we have to dispatch from the cart screen component. So let's go ahead and bring some stuff in here. We're going to need use effect, because the use effect is where we want to actually dispatch add to cart. Right when we come to the cart page, as long as there's a product ID in the URL, we want to add it to the cart. So we want to bring that in. We also want to bring in use dispatch and use selector, because we're dealing with our Redux state. So pretty much any time you're dealing with your Redux state within a component, you're going to bring this in. And we're going to need, let's see, so we're also going to need our message component. So import message from, and that's going to be ../component/message, and we're going to need React router link. So I'm going to put that here, import link from React router DOM. And we're going to need a bunch of stuff from React Bootstrap as well, so we'll put that here. So we want a row, a call, list group, image, form, button, and card. And that's going to be from React Bootstrap. So I think that, we need our action as well. So we want our add to cart action. So it's going to be from, /actions/cart actions, and it's going to be add to cart. All right. So down here, let's first get the product ID, which is going to be in match_params.id. That's how we can get it from the URL. So let's destructure here and let's get match. And I also want to get location, because we also need to get the quantity. And to get a query string, because remember it's going to be in, it's like this $QTY equals, to get that we need to use location.search. So we want location. We also want history, which is used to redirect. So we want to bring in those props, and let's set here the product ID, which is going to be match.params.id. And there's not always going to be a params.id. There's not always going to be an ID, because if we simply go to the cart page, there's no ID. If we add something to our cart and get redirected, there is going to be an ID and a quantity. Oh, you know what? I set quantity to 0. That's wrong. So in the, the product screen right here, use state, this should be 1. We don't want to set quantity to 0 ever. It doesn't make any sense. So if I come back here and I reload, yeah, so it's set to 1 and it displays 1. Good. So let's go back here. That kind of threw me off a little bit. So we're getting our product ID from the URL. Now to get the quantity, let's say const QTY, and we're going to check for location.search, because that's going to be the query params. In fact, I'll just go ahead and console log and show you what that gives us. So if we go to our console, and what's this? Oh, I used a class somewhere in loader. Let me just fix that real quick. So components, where are you, components? There you are. Loader. Yeah, so I used a class here. Not a big deal. But like I was saying, I want to just show you what location search gives us. So if I go here and I say add to cart, down here, see what it's logging? It's logging this question mark QTY equals 1. So whatever is here, whatever is after this question mark, is going to show down, is going to be in that location.search. So for this quantity, we want to check to see if it's there. If it is, then we only want the right side of the equal sign. We only want the number. So we'll take the location.search, which will look like this, question mark QTY equals whatever, 1, and we want to get the 1. So what I'm going to do is call dot split, and I want to split it by the equal sign. What that'll do is it'll set an array with this as the first index at the 0 index and this at the 1 index. So I want to get the 1 index. All right, and else, so we'll say else, then the quantity will just be 1. And this is going to give us the quantity, but it's not going to be in number format or number data type, so I'm just going to wrap this in number, this whole thing here. All right, so that will get us the quantity. Now we want to define our dispatch, so let's say const dispatch so that we can call an action. We want to say dispatch equals use dispatch, and then our use effect. So use effect takes in an arrow function, and in this use effect we only want to dispatch add to cart if there's a product ID. If we just go to the regular cart page, then we don't want to. So let's check and see if product ID, then let's dispatch right away add to cart, which takes in the ID, so the product ID, and then it also takes in the quantity. So we're going to pass that in, which we're going to get both of them from the URL. Now for dependencies for the use effect, let's pass in our brackets here. I'm going to pass in dispatch, the product ID. Okay, so this should change if the product ID changes, and also quantity. And now, just by having this, when we come to the, don't worry about these messages, they're just not used yet, but when we come to the add to cart page, the cart screen, if we have an ID and a quantity in the URL, it's going to get added to our cart. So let's try it out. Let's go back to, actually we were on that page, so it might already be there. We might already have something there. So state cart items, yep. So we were already on the camera page, so that got added when it reloaded. And you can see all the data, which comes from the database, and then put in the state, and then quantity 1. If I go here and I say I want 2 of these, add to cart, now we should have 2 items in our cart items. The second one here, AirPods, quantity 2. That should also be in our local storage. So if we look at the application tab here and we go down to localhost, you'll see cart items is being saved. And since we added it to our initial state in our store.js file, it's being loaded automatically. So even if we go, away from the page and we reload, or even if we close the browser and come back, those items should stay in there because they're being loaded from local storage as soon as our store is initialized. Now we can also we want to get those items and put them in our cart. So for that, we want to use the use selector to grab that piece of state. So let's go right under dispatch here, and let's say const, set this to cart, and use selector, which remember takes in state, and it's an arrow function, and we want from the state the cart. Now from cart we just want to pull out the cart items. Okay, now just to show you that we're actually getting that, if I do a console log here of cart items, go look in our console, you can see we have 2 items here, which are the items that are in a cart. So in the next video, we want to take those items that we're now able to get down through our state, and we want to show our cart screen here with a list of the items. So I'm just going to get rid of that console log, and then we'll finish this up in the next video.